I know you give Memphis credit for part of that, but what was the biggest struggle you guys had with just getting
Rob,
shots?
I don't know. Because we had some looks that we would love to have every night. We would, but when your 3 top scorers go 6 for 30, it's tough. And but the one thing I thought that was really good was our defense was good throughout. We had 3 breakdowns at the end. I thought, Folky had to rebound and got it taken away from him. That was a huge play in the game. They drove baseline. Josiah had great position. I'm not sure who gave up the drift 3. That was a big play. And then Folky had his man covered, and I think Eve was coming over to block a shot when he threw the lob up there, and which I get that because he comes to block shots. But in a possession game like that, they matter. They really do. And then on the offensive end, it's tough because when you're open and you've got looks at it, it's tough not to take open shots because we don't want guys to get hesitant. But they also have to, or we also have to figure out the flow of the game when it's time. Some nights it's not going in. Okay, now we're going to have to change and play. We didn't get the fast break push that we need most of the time, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're a good defensive team and we put people in long possessions, and we work at it, and we want to go score quick too. But then if we're not shooting the ball well, it seems like we're playing defense for 20-some seconds and playing offense for 10 or 12. But that's okay because we've worked enough on knowing, understanding the flow. But it was a kind of game that we really thought it would be. We had 9 turnovers. We weren't able to take advantage early in the second half. Into the second half, we had the lead because Eve was on the bench and Josiah. And when we had advantage basketball, we didn't take advantage of it. We were just content getting the ball across and not attacking the way we had talked about.
How do you get more consistency out of Lamonte and Jordan night in and night out?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. I trust them. I have confidence in them, but they've moved into new roles, and they're going to have to figure it out too. And as a group, we'll figure it out. But we have some execution breakdown to it at the end. And again, when you're in a possession game like this, we've got to be mature enough to understand it. We've got to make them all count. But those guys will have to figure that out.
Piggyback a little bit on the execution, Rick. It seemed like Lamonte really forced that contested 3 at the end. Would you have liked to seen him work for a better shot?
Where's that now?
The contested 3, Lamonte.
Yeah, again, when we came out and he fumbled the ball, and that's what happened. He came off of it. He fumbled the ball, but they backed up, and again, he's made those shots, and you've got to believe that at some point in time. I mean, the one that Eve drove down the lane and did whatever, I'm not sure what you'd call that. He should have shot that shot. I mean, as much as you work at shooting, as much as we work at it, and again, there's nights it doesn't go in, but there's certain nights when you're wide open and it's in the flow, you got to shoot it, whatever, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. But I was really pleased with Drew Pember, and I think Drew's going to get a chance, and he's going to change it because he's a guy that the more he gets out there, he's going to figure it out, but he gives us another ball handler and a guy that has a really good feel. And I think Devontae Gaines is getting more comfortable. So got to get Olivier. He wasn't very good today. And he's got to change his body language when things aren't going well. He can't let everybody in the building know that he's down on himself. That comes with maturity and playing. But we need him. We need him. But we need him to do the job and play the role we need him to play.
Rick, Penny over here, Penny expressed some remorse about his comments last year, said he wants the rivalry to continue. What are your thoughts on the future of this rivalry after this game?
I've talked about it. I've said the same thing that I've said from the beginning. When I got here, we were the ones that initiated to start this series, and it was started with Tubby Smith and I, and we talked about it. It took us 2 years to figure it out, where we could get it going. Our initial thoughts were we wanted to play in Nashville, divide the building, do that is how we wanted to do it. And I've said leading up to this, because we've been able to move our program where I think their program has moved, you've got to have flexibility in your schedule. I'm not saying we will or we won't, but like I said, I've got respect for what Memphis, I know all about the history of Memphis basketball. I know a lot about Penny Hardaway, and I learned this week that I didn't know that he's not in the Hall of Fame. I was surprised by that. I didn't know that. But the fact is, every year we look at our schedule, and we play a really hard schedule. And we'll look at it, and again, but we're always going to do what we think is right for us. And I'm not saying we will or we won't, but and that's where we are on it.
Rick, Josiah had a really nice start to the game. Would you have liked to see him continue looking for that shot in the second half, or were you okay with how he played?
No, I thought he turned down. Again, he's worked really hard again at shooting the ball, but I thought Josiah played his best game in terms of his confidence and his demeanor, in terms of how he was playing. I thought he was good today in terms of trying to do everything that he could in the overall game, and I might feel different after I looked at the tape, but I do like the way he carried himself today.
Rick, do you think were you surprised that you had, when you were breaking the press, that you had some guys who didn't really seem comfortable with the ball to really go out there and make decisions when you had numbers?
Yeah, I thought we didn't take advantage of advantage basketball when we had it. You know, we were locking in, and that's the one thing we didn't do a very good job of early. But we had some guys on the floor. At one time, I think we had Jalen and Drew and Devontae Gaines out there at one time, and that's a group that's, honestly, they don't play together very much, but I think they were just trying to protect the ball as opposed to looking to take advantage of the situation that we had.
Rick, what was Memphis doing to guard Jordan and Lamonte, and how would you assess how those guys played today in general?
Well, what they were going to make it hard for, like everybody has all year, for Lamonte. Once he gives it up, get it back. But we don't really worry about it in the fact that, because we've got three guys out there that we think can handle the ball. So if they want to deny him, he'll go get into an action himself. Those three guys are, between Jordan and Josiah and Lamonte, they can all three play all three spots. But teams are going to do that. You know, they're going to try to work it, getting it out of his hands to see if somebody else can play. But we've seen that all year, to be quite honest with you.
There in the last 5 minutes of the first half, when they were running that little press defense, they didn't really turn it over much, but it seemed like they used that to pick up the pace of the game and really get their offense in rhythm. How did you analyze their offense there in the last
No, well, I don't think our offense was good at any point in time. I don't know if I could tell you a couple times when we did what we wanted to do, when we ran something. I mean, we did some things, but we didn't consistently do it. You know, in transition, you know, we really like our transition game. We didn't get to it as much as we should have, but it goes back. At some point in time, you got to make shots. You know, I don't care what you do. It's never pretty if you don't make shots. I mean, Memphis, I think, averages 80-some points a game, and they struggle to get to 52. And but I thought both teams played hard, and both teams had a lot to do with what happened on that end for each team. But we again, when we had a chance to play advantage basketball in the first half, we didn't do it. In the second half, they didn't really trap us like they were trying to do to get back in the game. But at that point in time, when they made that push back, again, we had some key guys on the bench that we couldn't take advantage of at that time.
Do you think there might be some confidence issues on this offense? And if there are, how do you go about addressing that? Because guys just kind of look more timid than usual.
Well, I think it's tough when you catch the ball sometime and you're wide open. I think it's tough, you know. I mean, think about Lamonte. A couple guys had shots. I mean, some wide open. I mean, they can't be any more open, and they don't miss it. Then I think if you want to call it timid, I think doubt creeps in when guys like, all right, I shot one or two, I haven't made it. Where that's where you got to have confidence in the flow of the game and the flow of the offense. And then as a player, you've got to realize some nights, okay, maybe I'm not shooting the ball. I don't, and if you do get that mindset where you're not sure you can make a shot, you should be moving on to the next play quickly so you can stay in the flow of the game as opposed to being hesitant. And that's something that, again, some guys are going through for the first time. I mean, where they're counted on to score points and things aren't going well, how can they continue to affect the game?
Rick, what were some of the reasons you felt like you guys didn't have the kind of offensive night you were looking for?
Well, I look at this. Lamonte Turner, 1 for 11. Josiah, 4 for 11. Bowden, 2 for 10. Eve Pons, 3 for 10. And I know, JB is not going to get a lot of great looks at it. Josiah had looks and probably could have. He was 3 for 6 and probably could have shot it 6 more times if he wanted to. But he was wanting to create, get into the lane, get to the fouls, get to the foul line, which we want to do. We want to get to their bench, and like I think any team would. But Lamonte, I think, really does try hard. He was out a couple of days this week working with his shoulder, and I think that's going to get better and better. I think that's going to help him once he gets it mentally with some of the things that they're doing with him now. But Jordan Bowden and Lamonte are two guys that are being game planned for, but it gets down to believing in each other, doing what we do, and like a couple sets when we really did execute well, we were able to get baskets that I think anybody should make, like layups around the rim. I mean, you can't coach making shots as much as you like to make every shot. You've got to keep your players believing that, hey, if you're open, you got to take your shots. And but I just hope we don't have any more nights like this. Do what? Again, I'll look at the tape. There'll be some things, but again, I mean, you hold a team to 51 points, it's averaging 80-some. I mean, you look at it, they shot 33%, but we shoot 25%, 4 for 26. And again, I will tell you this: I would say 7 of those probably weren't what I would consider good shots at the time. Those 6, like Olivier took a good first one. Then he caught the ball wide open on a scramble situation. He wasn't ready to shoot it, and he shot it. Those are the ones that are tough shots. But he's a freshman, and he's learning. He's learning because he was so wide open, and you don't normally see that. But that's where he's got to. But they were like back-to-back plays, and I think a little bit of emotion for the young guys. Maybe you can think about a lot of different things, but again. 4 for 26 is, again, I would like to see the ball moved a little bit more so we could get ourselves in a position to rebound the ball. Because you know what, they get 13 rebounds. And again, the stats you look at, they get 13 offensive rebounds. They normally give up 13. We got 12. But it comes down to games like this. We can analyze it all we want. It's a possession game. There's a couple things, like you cannot lose a rebound. You can't do it. I mean, those are critical plays. You can't give a guy, you got a guy covered, come over, make a play, give up a lob. Those are just plays and those are the things that I think we'll learn from. As good as we played defensively, and on offensively, again, there's a lot of things I could talk about but the fact is, I do know we had some looks at it that we didn't knock down, and that continues to put pressure on you on that end. But I don't think that ever trickled over to the defensive side. I thought we stayed with what we were trying to do on that end of the court.
Penny said this was almost like an NCAA tournament game. What was it like for you guys, just the game energy and the atmosphere?
Well, again, I think it's a high-level basketball game. I think that. But you know what? We've gotten used in this building with our fans. I think we got the best fan base in college basketball. And for some of these guys, it's the first time they've been in it. But Lamonte and Bowden, Fulkerson, and Eve, and those guys have been through quite a bit of it, And but I thought it was a hard-fought game. I thought both teams played really hard, and I thought both teams were fighting and scratching for everything they could get. And but I thought it would play like that from the start with, and so I think both teams have a chance to really get a lot better. I think we're both young, and I think that as the season goes on, I like to think that we're going to get a lot better from this, and I think their team they're going to get better. Okay, thank you guys.